Design with some of the highlights from the fall open house at Design Hardware. Incredible design talent, interesting conversations, and insights into how the business of design is changing. Today is more robust and complex than ever before. And that's only going to continue to change over time, accelerating with every new change in technology and business climate, not to mention actual climate changes. Every quarter, I check in with the design talent at the Design Hardware showroom in Los Angeles, and we chop up issues like these and others. These are some of the highlights from our fall 2024 event that took place in November. You're going to hear all about that right after this. I am just incredibly proud of this partnership I've got with Thermosol. They have been presenting partners of Convo by Design going on 5 years now. And there is a certain amount of pride that comes with saying that the show is presented by the company that is the best in the world at what they do. Thermosol engineers the most exceptional smart shower products and steam shower systems worldwide, full stop. And it's for a few reasons. First of all, they were the first company to design and patent the technology here in the United States, dating back to 1958. Thermosol, a U.S.-based manufacturer based in Round Rock, Texas, employs an engineering team that designs, tests, and continuously refines the product. Their quality control team tests every single steam generator before it departs the factory. Who else does that? Nobody that I know of. I have the pleasure of working with some world-class designers and architects who tell me, and if you're in the business, you know this, that the idea of luxury has changed, especially when clients want a spa-like bathroom. Steam is mandatory, or it's just not considered a luxury. And if you want to add steam, you have only one true option, my opinion, and that's Thermosol. Mitch Altman, third-generation CEO of this family-owned company of 65 years, continues to innovate in the bathroom and shower space through technological marvels such as intelligent showering systems, sound therapy, aromatherapy, technical interfaces, and so much more. And now Thermosol, the industry leader in steam bath equipment and technology since 1958, as I mentioned, is enhancing its already stellar family of products with the new indoor and outdoor luxury saunas, available in 3 designs. The configurations are absolutely amazing, and you should probably go check them out. Indoor and outdoor options. It's amazing. You really do need to check them out. Go to thermosol.com or at Thermosol on the socials.
Hi, I'm Adam Hunter of Adam Hunter, which is a studio based in West Hollywood, California, and I'm an interior designer.
You are not an interior designer. You are one of the interior designers.
Stop it.
There are a
handful.
Don't. Look, there are a handful of creatives that I've spoken to that I have as much fun with as you.
Oh, that's nice.
And you've been on the show one time.
I loved it.
And I loved it too. It was really, really fun. And now we get to meet in person, which I'm thrilled about. But we're meeting this time because we're talking about this. We're chopping it up a little bit. And then we're going to be at the West Edge Design Fair, easy for me to say, this weekend for a panel upon which you are on, and I'm moderating.
So excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
About iconic architecture. Here's the premise. The premise is, and I have made no secret about this, that I hate social media. I really do, because it's not real.
You're going to edit this. Are you going to edit this?
No.
Okay. Go on. Social media is not real. I agree.
And by the way, if something happens, and I have this on the show all the time, and if something happens and someone says, "Hey, I want you to cut that out," I'll totally do it. I don't often do that. Nobody really asks me.
No, that's
to
fine. I love that. I love real. I thought it was about AI and the future of technology. I didn't know it was about iconic architecture. So
hold the phone. Hold the phone. Stand by.
No, good. I'm glad we caught it.
Yeah, no, we didn't catch it. You caught it.
No, thank you.
I'm a moron. No. Take 2. Okay. I don't know. I may just leave that in.
Yeah.
I might.
Funny.
The panel that you're on, I was just talking to Anthony Laney, who's on the Iconic Architecture panel. The panel you're on, I love this one. It's connected versus unconnected.
Yeah.
This one is really interesting to me. And again, back to my hatred and disdain for social media, especially in light of recent events, whatever those recent events happen to be.
I have no idea what you might be talking about.
I feel that there is a greater need than ever to disconnect. And there really isn't anyone greater than the design community to define what that is. Because look, let's be honest, we still have to be functional. I have a 20-year-old daughter, and when she was 16, if I would have said, no, this is a disconnected home where there's no social media, you're not online, she would have run away from home. I'm quite sure.
Yeah.
There's no choice anymore. But the options are infinite as far as how we connect, where we connect, when we connect.
Yes, my sister is a parenting expert, and she wrote a book about this specifically. And that there's a book actually called The Anxious Generation because of social media. And she's a strong person of wait as long as you possibly can. I mean, if you could wait till 20-year-old for your iPhone for your kid, but also you just have to be smart and delegated and make sure you just have to really parent these kids. But as far as the interiors go, I think that it is important that it elevates who you are. Like I was saying, I'm really into energetic interior design now. So even if you are scrolling, be in a quiet place. Don't have a million things going on, and then limit your time. You know what I mean? That's just as far as social media. Otherwise, I think that the connected part can be great in some aspects and also scary.
Where in the process do you evaluate connected, disconnected, unconnected, reconnected?
It's a really good question. I would probably be scared to be disconnected, when I don't like that. I didn't know it till I just said it out loud. But when your life is full and you're, like, say you're on a vacation and great things are happening, it becomes less and less important. And then you realize at that moment, like, wow, I'm not looking at this. But I do think that it has, Instagram has created the real housewives of Instagram. They're all designers now. Every person in Brentwood and the Palisades, no matter what their degree are, they are interior designers because Amber Interiors posted this, and this is the table that they want. And it's been hard. It's been really hard for us to slow the trends down. Everything comes so fast because of social media. So the Instagram images you're seeing of great designers, and I'm one of those people who curate a lot of other designers that I love, it's just the trends are happening faster because of the algorithm. It's crazy.
I think too, and by the way, we're going to get into algos in a minute and AI and how that affects what we're talking about. But more to the general point of this is this idea. Like, for years, the TV screen is the first thing photoshopped out of a design, or taken away and not.
See, that's never been me.
Really?
I never. I created the first marble iPhone dock. It was a whole product line called Stand. This was right when the iPhone came out, and it was a beautiful sculpture to put your iPhone on in your desk. So you were embracing the technology, and the category is called luxury technologies. I was first discovered it in Paris at Deco Off many, many years ago. And it's part of our life. Integrate it. Make it as beautiful as you can. I get it. I'm blanking on the name of the light switches, which is going to make me sound dumb, so don't put that part in. But there's those beautiful light switches that you can get that are stainless steel, and they have dimmers on them.
Like Buster and Punch?
They copied them. Sorry, Buster and Punch. I got to find out the name, and I will. There's just ways to experience technology beautifully, and that's what I think is important.
And it goes into there's so much more detail that goes into this too that I think my disdain for social media actually starts with the fact that as a journalist, I'm interested in the story behind the images that you see, and I never get that. I never get satisfaction. But this idea that from a safety and security standpoint, that you could have tantamount to a Faraday box, where you have that Faraday box material in rooms, which they do. They have, impenetrable. So nobody can swipe your RFIDs or take your fob.
Ooh,
codes.
sexy. You were talking about shit I don't know. RFID Q squared 93 broccoli. I love it.
If this didn't happen, okay, I'm going way off the.
No,
I'm going off, but I'm going to share it with you.
Big brain.
When we moved to Tulsa, for the first 3 weeks, our cars got broken into every 2 days.
Why?
When we were in Manhattan Beach here in California, our cars got broken into every month or so, but they never broke anything. And I know we locked the cars. They didn't break a window. They didn't break a lock.
Oh.
They basically, what they do is they will drive through a neighborhood, and if your key fob is close enough and within range, they can steal the code and unlock your doors with a slave remote.
That's scary.
They can do it to anybody.
That's scary.
Right? So we wound
I don't
up.
even see the purpose of that in a good way. What's the reason to do that in a good way?
There is no good way.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the good way is...
I guess if you lost your car keys.
The good way is if you lock your keys in your car, that they can come out and get them out. But what we did is we went to Amazon and we got a Faraday box, and you put your keys in it, you close it, and they can't take the code.
That's cool.
And there are rooms that certain high income individuals or high wealth individuals will have, where they have their computers and their I feel like the greater crypto is in our financial system because it can be so easily stolen or tampered with.
Yeah, totally true.
You're going to have to address these things.
Yes.
Who else is going to do it besides
Security
designers?
is so important. I totally agree. How will the designers affect that? What do you mean as far as connecting it to design?
Well, I think that that's a material that a designer would source and specify.
The box.
No, the material that the box is made of.
Oh, yes, of course.
As wall material.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Another thing we did was we made a Calcutta tray, and it was wireless charge. So you put your phone on a beautiful tray that you would put accessories on your cocktail table, and it really was a part of that whole... it went away. Of course, there's the technology now where you can charge your phone on your counter, so there's no device at all. But I think creatively it's a challenge to make something like, we called it Stand, a beautiful objet that could house luxury material, that could house technology. I think that's pretty innovative and cool, and it's definitely where we're going. The first people who did this with Bang & Olufsen that I can recall growing up, they were pieces of art and they were big gadgets. I loved that.
Are you a gadget guy?
I'm a total nerd. I had an Apple II when I was 13 years old. I don't even care that dates me. And then when I was on Broadway in New York City during the shows, we would go in the afternoons to the Apple conventions and things. I really, really was one of those people who thought that Apple was doing something right way before anyone else knew. Like in the early 90s, I thought Steve Jobs and his glasses, Japanese inspired, and the minimalism and the tactileness of all his products were amazing. So I think that's probably why I especially love the hardware of technology. That's what I'm saying, the hardware.
Yeah, well, and that sort of goes into this idea of connected versus unconnected or reconnected, because nowadays, and anytime you specify a kitchen, you're looking at high-end appliances and the things that they can do, they're almost like cars.
Oh, it's amazing.
It is, but every time you hook something else up, it's connected to your Wi-Fi and it drains your feed, and the more things you have connected, the less things actually work at an optimal.
I imagine that are going to fix that relatively soon, don't you think? That seems like...
No, I don't think.
I don't know. Elon Musk will come down from the sky and Starlink all of our world, and we'll be computers. That's sort of what's happening.
Adam,
what's happening right now?
Did I catch you? I think I caught you at the wrong way.
I'm not heated at all. I am relaxed. I love what's happening in our country. This was America.
Okay, but speaking of America, I also feel, and I've said this many, many times, that designers and architects are futurists. Because
totally,
you have to be.
Oh, absolutely. I try to tell that to my clients because my projects are usually 2 and 3 years. So you have to forecast the 2 and 3 years, but then you have to forecast the 15 years after that, or 10. Let's say 10. By year 10, I say redo it again. And that's just something that's, I think, instinctive to us. I've asked a lot of my designer friends, how do we do that? And they're like, I don't know. I just sort of know. Don't you know? And I was like, yeah, I just sort of know.
No, I have a theory, and I'm going to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
The people that you are hanging out with are at an equal level of quality to you
nice.
And the work you do. There are many out there, And look, it's like it's the same in every industry. And I believe that good design, is a right, not a privilege. And I think that everyone should.
Oh, I completely agree.
Have
Interior
access.
design should be democratized, which is why I'm slowly moving into artificial intelligence.
So that's a great segue. It's like we've worked together before.
Yes.
I
Oh my
love
God,
it.
we have a rhythm.
But what's interesting, and just to put a finer point on that, is that you're not going to be working with the I hate to call them lower end consumers, but that's really what they are. They're not consumers that are financially capable.
It's the house demographic.
Yeah, they're not financially.
Not that there's anything wrong with house at all.
No, but they're not financially capable of paying someone of your caliber.
Neither am I, bitch. Trust me, all you people out there, hello, can't afford me. Not a possibility, but maybe one day.
But that being said, there will be designers, entry-level designers, mid-level designers, part-time designers, decorators who can take on those responsibilities.
Yeah.
And I think that the eventual proliferation of artificial intelligence is going to be crucial and key to that expansion.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's terrifying. We're a very old school profession.
Yeah.
We have not, we're still using Studio Designer, a program from like 25 years ago. I'm not kidding. It hasn't really been updated. As far as the back end of house, and so much of the stuff we do is material. You have to feel and see and touch. You have to have an emotional reaction from your aesthetic excitement for whatever you're seeing. But it's here. It's here. And I saw some software recently that was like very dystopian, amazing, and totally dystopian. I was like, wow. Okay, it's the eat or get eaten. So I would love to tell all my interior design colleagues to be open to it, to realize that it doesn't take away the heart of what we do. You can't replace that with a computer. The way we transmit information, the way we inspire people, the way we tell the story, that's all proprietary. That's not changing. That's who we are. Plus the fact there's the 1%ers who want me to hold their hands all day long, which is what I do for my living. So that's not changing either. But it can make your world faster. You can visualize things instantly. You have an idea for a crazy wood wall that has a Calcutta marble strip in the middle, and then there's like this organic table underneath, but you don't want it to be too much wood. What does it look like? Boom. It's like 30 seconds. It's crazy.
Last time you and I spoke, you were on the precipice of an endeavor, AI related.
Yes.
Are you in a place where you can speak more about it?
Sort of.
Yeah.
I asked my partners how much I could speak about. I think that we're excited a technology company came to me and with sort of a different idea, and I realized that there has to be a way to democratize interior design and help other people have great interior design. For example, you go to Restoration Hardware, find design, but you're having a catalog house. And you're not having... Design is in the mix, right? And that's sort of one of our taglines here, besides the fact that everyone can have a good eye, which I like, because people say, I don't have a good eye, I don't have a good taste. Well, be assisted by something. And my goal is to incorporate all interior designers into the back end of this. So interior designers would be making clicks, making money, as opposed to, it'll help lean into this technology. Does that make sense? I didn't pitch it that well.
No.
Sorry.
I think it makes perfect sense. I think what the point is, and I think that this is it's a circular way of getting back to where we started when we were talking before I had my brain aneurysm and forgot where I was at the moment. But aside from that, this idea of connected, reconnected, disconnected, unconnected, I think the idea of connection is not just technology related. It's interpersonal.
Now that I have a lot to say about. That is where we need to go. Social media has made us the opposite, and we need to lean in so hard to the intimacy and to the connections. Young people and Gen Z, they don't know how to talk to people. They admit that they don't know how to talk to people. They're losing jobs because of it. They don't have any interpersonal skills. But more than that, I think on a spiritual level, we need to connect with people. You need to feel them. especially the way the world is right now. You need to be close to people and you need to have real conversations. And there's definitely an anxiousness and like a can't sit stillness of the TikTok generation. And I get it. I love TikTok too. But you have to be able to disconnect spiritually from it. You can still check it, but you have to be able to go like, okay, now I'm with a person. I'm trying to not put my phone on the table when we have dinners, and I find myself, even at fancy dinners, still doing that. And I'm like, no.
Well, and there was some comedian that said, nowadays they ask you not to use your phones at dinner, but then the only way you can look at a menu.
Yeah, that's totally true. I hate that, actually. You want to feel, again, sensory experience, tactile. That's not something I want to be digitized. That's something I want to feel the way the pages turn.
The absolute best specifying designers, architects, and landscape designers are all highly focused on the technology and performance of products and materials today. You just have to be. And you have to because the products you specify for your projects have to perform and they have to last. That is one of the reasons why I am so incredibly proud to be working with TimberTech. Their focus on the technical renaissance of synthetic decking is literally changing the conversation about innovation and performance. It pulls focus on 3 priorities homeowners have and expect from the products their designers and architects specify for their luxury projects. 1, the aesthetics must match the overall design and fit visually. 2, durability and maintenance. I've told you my board flipping stories about my own wood decks over the years. Clients not only want beauty, but they want ease of use and they want it to last for decades. 3, sustainably made. Clients are more conscious about the environment and they want the same of their materials and the companies that manufacture their materials. TimberTech hits each one of these elements with a product that not only meets expectations, they exceed them. TimberTech makes a synthetic decking that looks just like wood. Color and embossed wood grain for a natural appearance. Their composite decking is technologically superior. It's been created to last for decades, and it's manufactured with up to 85% recycled materials. 85% recycled materials. Their advanced PVC vintage and landmark collections have a Class A flame spread rating, making these products an amazing choice for wildfire-prone areas, which unfortunately continues to grow on the risk map. Check the show notes for more information about this and to find the nearest showroom or lumberyard where you can find TimberTech. You can also check them out directly, timbertech.com.
Hi, my name is Cecile Rose of Cecile Rose Designs. I am a local designer from Signal Hill, California. I am a wide variety designer. I can do commercial projects to residential projects. My experience is 30 years plus, and I'm a UCLA graduate, and I'd love to create a home or an office space where everyone can feel comfortable and really say they're at home. So,
when did you know that this was your calling?
since I was a little girl, I helped my parents a lot. They had lots of property, lots of turnover. I was technically the little girl in a skirt that had the hammer all the time.
Lower the mic a little bit. There you go. Perfect. And I'm just curious too, why design and not construction if you had a hammer in your hand the whole time?
I like design. I do a lot of my own construction and restoration. I think I am very much involved with the hands because I've always had talent with the piano. I was a pianist from 2 years old until I was in college. So I had a shift from music career to design career. So it's always been something with the tactile touch of design.
Do you still play?
I still do play with my nails. Yes, everybody asks me.
Well, no, I'm not asking for that reason. Your nails are wonderful.
Oh,
though.
thank
I
you.
love them. But I was asking because I've often felt a direct connection between design and architecture and music.
Oh.
I think that, and I'm just curious if you see any correlation between the two, or if that impacts you.
Yes, it does. It really does. Design, music, art, it all circles around that hemisphere of of talent, of creativity, of expression. So yes, you are right. It definitely does.
Well, and I think of it, we all are framed by our own experience, right?
Yes.
And for me, as an audiophile and a lover of music,
You're an audiophile.
and I love music.
Are you involved with the audiophile of Southern California?
No,
No.
but
You
as
should get
but as
involved,
and
yeah.
as a sound engineer,
Yeah.
I know what goes into this.
Wow, Josh.
Love it.
Yes.
And I have found that music can not only define
Right.
how you feel,
Right.
but it can also shape the experience.
Absolutely.
And I think design does the exact same
Yes.
thing.
Yes, there's a movement to design as well as music. There's a movement to architecture as well as music. So it all involves our emotion. It all involves an experience. It all involves the state of our mind. It can be for 1 minute we feel really sad because we're in the bank and it doesn't look that great, and then we come into a showroom. We're like, my God, possibilities are endless. Or a space where you just get coffee. It is endless. So yes, there is a correlation with the movement of creativity and design, and sound. Oops.
And I also feel that there's a congruency that, if you're looking at sheet music
Yes.
and then you're playing along with the sheet music
Yes.
and you hit a wrong note,
Right.
it's not only noticed,
Exactly.
but it's felt.
right.
If you're working on a design and there's a wrong note,
Yes.
it's felt.
Yes, it is. And you know who feels it?
Everyone.
Everyone, especially the client who says, hold it. But we try to tell our clients, not everything you see is going to be a disaster. We have to hold their hand and make them understand, because we're also psychologists as well. Make them understand that it's not the time to get upset. Wait till you see the whole project complete, and then we can go from there. But of course, there are some people that just want their their opinions heard and opinions made, and we have to go by that sometimes. So it dictates it.
You do, but I would think too, one of the greatest things that I've heard before is when a designer will tell me that they'll go through a reveal process. The reveal is kind of a lost art,
Yes.
right? Because clients live in their homes when it's being
Right.
so it's kind of hard to do a reveal, but that they'll look at a space when it's completed
Yes,
and they'll love it, but they don't know why.
right,
To me, that just kind of means that you've captured the essence of the client.
right. The element of surprise, the emotion and the connection that you have, not only with your client but with that space, and they're not expecting because they don't have a visual like us designers do. So, our love and our how can you say, our deep great satisfaction for our clients to be happy is that's the end result. They come and they say, wow, I never thought this could happen to me. So that is the process of design. That's the process of how designers and clients connect with each other, and in the end they'll be hopefully happy.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you.
As a busy professional designer, you know how important it is to find the right partnerships. Partnerships that allow you to specify the right products for every project. Professionals like you don't just have time to sit around and waste, right? So let me tell you about one of my partnerships. Pacific Sales is here to serve you with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commissioned professionals to help you specify the right product for all your projects. Non-commissioned. That means their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that, with over 60 years of service in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, and inspiration. And you will find all your favorite brands, like Monogram, and their commitment to providing exceptional products, starting with materials. Monogram sources commercial-grade stainless steel on their refrigerators, unscratchable sapphire glass on their cooktop knobs, durable marine-grade bearings on their dishwasher racks. Monogram takes inspiration from the leading-edge materials used in the high-end automotive and aeronautics industry to provide you with lasting beauty and exceptional quality. The beauty is backed by the same level of attention to performance, which is why Monogram appliances are trusted and sought after by chefs all over the country. chain-driven French oven doors that can be opened with one hand, and an industry-exclusive hearth oven that allows for all-electric indoor brick oven-style cooking without the need for external ventilation. These are just a few of the things that make Monogram so special. Pacific Sales features Monogram appliances, and Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team is here to help you and offer their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you have experienced before. And here's the cherry on top: access. Access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands like Monogram. Visit a Pacific Sales showroom today to learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights. Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, where excellence meets expertise.
Hi, I'm Candace Quinn. I am the founder and principal designer at London Pierce Design in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've been doing design we've been open for 9 years now. Recently launched a 10,000 square foot showroom at London Pierce Home. So that's been really fun, and we're doing projects all over the country, obviously a lot in Scottsdale and Paradise Valley.
You know what's really funny is I feel like Phoenix proper, Scottsdale, Glendale, that whole area, has completely ignored as a design destination until maybe, 7, 8 years ago, and then it just kind of erupted.
Yeah. It's amazing right now. So many people are moving. The real estate prices have skyrocketed. I love it, but I don't love the traffic. The traffic's it's crazy. It used to be snowbirds, right? So we were fine in the summer, not anymore. It's always busy, but it's great. I love seeing the growth. It's a fun time for us.
When did you know this was what you were going to do?
I've always known. I'm one of those people. I've always known it. It's been a passion of mine my whole life. I grew up with a dad that would sit at a drafting table and draft our houses. He did not have any sort of degree in architecture. It was a hobby. And I just always loved to be around it. So I would study real estate books. I would get the little, the catalogs or whatnot at the grocery store and look at all the houses and just dream of it. So I've always known.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. We're talking today as a precursor to the panel that you're going to be on at the West Edge Design Fair.
Okay.
You almost sound surprised.
Really? That's happening?
The idea of authenticity versus dupes. It's an interesting conversation that I think there's two sides to it.
Yes.
I think on one side, it's something that idea theft is nothing new. Creative conceptual theft is nothing new. And on the other side is many people, especially those in design, don't want to rock the boat, don't want to talk about it in public. Unfortunately, unless you talk about it, unless we as an industry address it, nothing's going to ever happen. And I think a couple of things have happened recently. The first of which was the Kim Kardashian case with the Donald Judd Foundation. I think that that's just massive.
Yes.
And the other thing is it doesn't seem to stop. The moment some creative creates or ideates a concept, the moment, and you know this, the moment you put it on the market, somebody is in the process of stealing it.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like with technology, with AI, with the internet, it's getting easier and easier. And it's crazy. I will look at a light fixture for a client, right? Some specific light fixture. And you Google it, and there's the same fixture all over the top. Like, buy it here for $200 or some crazy thing. And I've had clients, I have one client, this is a funny story, but I can't remember what line I was specifying for her. But she was like, oh, look, I can get it for cheaper. And she sent me the link. She's a stylist for, a well-known store. And I said, really, would you carry a fake bag? And she's like, oh, good point. I'm like, you don't do that. And not only that, it's not going to be as good as the real thing, like the quality. So it drives me crazy. But yeah, it is a fascinating topic because it can go so many ways. There's so many ways you can interpret it.
Well, here's the other thing too. When it comes to design, there is, and during a call that we all had previously, I brought up a case that's making its way through the courts, which is a social media case where one influencer has styled themselves a certain way, and then another influencer came out and started styling herself exactly the same way as this other person does, down to the point of she takes images in the exact same way with similar products and similar colorways, and it's moving its way up through the courts.
Oh.
And what's interesting is there is no hard and fast rule with furniture, for example, where someone says, oh, well, I changed it 10%, so I'm okay. So it's legal. That doesn't exist. Trade dress is trade dress. And if you steal somebody's trade dress, doesn't mean you're going to get sued, but it means you could. At the same time, it doesn't seem fair for someone to come up with a concept that's a chair or a light or a sofa and own that whole concept. Because creatives have to be able to riff. Nothing's original. You look at music, you know, and the same three chords have made, you know, hundreds of Grammy Awards.
That's true. But I feel like there's inspiration, of course, and there's imitation. So like that, to me, that's the defining factor. If you're inspired by it, that's one thing. But if you're copying, that's lazy and not original. And
Where's the line?
yeah. Well, and people are sensitive to it too. People are very sensitive. Like for me as a designer, people are always sending me pictures of their kitchen or their bathroom. You inspired me and it looks the same. And I'm like, that's fine. I mean, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. That's fine. It doesn't bother me, right? But if you design a product and then, I don't know, there's just something about that to me that bothers me. You look at like Lindsay Edelman, and I feel like she is one that's an incredible designer, and I see so many fixtures that are like similar to what she comes up with. So some of those people, I just feel like it's, I don't know.
What's interesting to me is there's an Instagram page, Design Within Copy.
I've seen that.
And what's so interesting about it is I'm not surprised that it's posted anonymously. I wouldn't want to put my name to it, but it's posted anonymously, but it showcases certain designers who have come up with product and how that product was originally. And in some of them I don't agree with. Some of them are like, I don't see the ripoff there at all. Some of them it's like, oh, spot on. Yeah, I totally got it.
Yeah. And so for me, this is really interesting to me because as I prepared for this and really started researching it, so I have that furniture showroom and I am getting into furniture design. So now I'm scared. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I come up with a chair and I was inspired by one piece of this chair or something, am I going to be on there? Like she copied? Because some of them are a little ridiculous.
Some of them are totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and you bring up a very good point. As someone who has a showroom, who is now in the process of designing furniture and understanding what goes into that, I think a greater level of responsibility actually falls to the industry. You know what? If you're a designer, stop specifying and buying ripoffs. Stop buying dupes, but they can't because you can't necessarily. I don't mean you. I just mean the general design community. Because look, if a client, okay, hypothetically, you have a client, you're working on their design, and you have outlined, you've specified an $8,000 sofa. They go online. I mean, not that a client has ever done this before, but Google image that sofa, and they find one that is reasonably close in their mind. Fact is, it's a complete dupe, but it's $4,000 less. And they come to you and say, we want that one. I mean, you're in a pickle.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that was what I explained to you before. That happens all the time. And I use hey, it's quality you're paying for. Do you want something that you can trust, a line that I know that it's going to last, or do you want something that's garbage? And so I will fight it. But not everybody does or wants to, because you just want to get it done, right? And I think another thing for designers that's difficult, and this is one that I've experienced, you fall in love with a fixture and all you can think about is the room with this fixture. And you know, put it on there, you send it over, propose it, and the client comes back, that's way too expensive. And you're like, oh, and then you're tempted. You're tempted to do that. You want that fixture. So, I could get someone to make that for me, or I could find this knockoff. It's just not right. So,
I think I'm fair in my assessments. Mm-hmm. I do. I feel like I'm fair in my assessments. I am the first person to say that I think design is a right, not a privilege. I am the first person to say that, good design is universal and it's so personal. At the same time, I think many designers fall short in the ability to tell the story. Mm-hmm. That $8,000 sofa, maybe it was designed by a Spanish designer who based it off of his upbringing in Barcelona, and the material comes from Madrid, and it was crafted by
I want to buy the sofa.
Right? And that's $8,000.
Yeah.
The $4,000 version comes from China.
Mm-hmm.
It was mass produced. Mm-hmm. The material might off gas. Mm-hmm. It was made by who knows who. It was designed by someone who was able to rip off the designer in Spain. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lack of storytelling.
Right.
Is that fair?
That's very fair. I love that. I love that you said that, because it's true. And I feel like most people that hire an interior designer appreciate that, and they want that. They want the storytelling in their home. And that's something that I tell my clients, like, I want to tell a story in your home. So you want pieces that represent you and that you resonate with. So I do love that you said that, because that is a big part of it.
What would be, and I don't expect you to have the answer for this. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of asking for a off the cuff speculation. What would be a good first step or series of first steps? Because I don't think we ever accomplish anything like black and white, cut and dried. Here's the problem. Here's the solution. Boom, we're done. I just don't think that ever happens.
Right.
What would be a good series of first steps to get to a point where we honor the creatives by not ripping them off?
That is a good question. I mean, really, it's kind of a loaded question, because it's so hard now. How do we do that? As an industry, I feel like it should start with us, right? But it is difficult to protect them with the internet, like you said, with the internet, with clients, I think some designers are just like, hey, I want to get this done, I want to move on, and you're getting in budget talk, and it's stressful. Our job is extremely stressful. But I feel like just by telling your client, like explaining it to them, making them aware of the problem, and like you said, like, this is where this is coming from. Do you really want this in your beautiful home that you just renovated or built? Like, do you want something from China with probably insects in it? Like, who knows what? But that is the first step, is to educate and let our clients know, and try to put an end to it. But as far as protecting them, I don't know. Like,
the only thing, I'm not a designer, and so it's hard for me to put myself in your shoes.
Right.
The only thing I can compare myself to is as a publisher and as a host of a podcast that I've been doing for a very long time. Mm-hmm. I get frustrated, really frustrated. For a while, there were a couple of podcasts who would listen to the show, and then they would go out and try to cast the same designers who were previously on the show, and they'd use my show for show prep, and then they would use that to ask questions.
Oh, wow.
I was surprised when I first started hearing it, but then it happened more and more, and I got to the point where I just kind of accepted it. And I don't think that's right, but they're not doing anything illegal. They're not doing anything nefarious. They're just using me as show prep. I should be flattered.
Right.
It's not illegal. It's not intellectual property theft. Mm-hmm. So it's not the same. But I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of a designer. If you created a sofa, and then somebody came and designed the same thing and sold it for half as much, I would be frustrated, because you have the right. It's infringing on your trade dress, but then you have to decide if you want to take the cost to defend your trade dress and IP rights. Where does that line reside?
No, that's true, because this Kim Kardashian that's like a big one, right? And to see what happens with that, because that one's tricky. And when I remember reading about that and seeing everybody's perspective, and the designer saying, well, I wrote that it was inspired by, but it was an image, of the actual piece. And I don't know. I mean, that's just...
Okay, so my bigger issue is with AD. And look, AD's the top gun. I mean, they're the big name in the industry, and it's wise not to invoke any anger from anyone.
Right.
But for goodness sake, I mean, take some responsibility.
Right.
They put it on a video that was seen by 7 million people. Are you telling me that nobody on the AD production team knew that this was wrong?
Yeah,
but
that's true.
But they got the views and they got the advertising for it.
Yeah.
And so that's why I kind of say, and I'm not picking on AD. Maybe they don't have the bandwidth with people to research.
Right.
I go back to my days at Playboy, and we had a whole team that if something wound up on video, if a piece of art or an image or something, or if somebody was wearing a T-shirt with an image, it got blurred.
Right. Well, you should. I mean, that's what well, that's true, because, but did she think it was the real thing? That's the hard part.
I think this particular case, and by the way, we're going to know, because this is what's so thrilling. We're not going to know by the time we have our panel,
right?
But we are going to know this month. There's due a new order of some sort that we're going to find out reasonably soon what everyone said and what they thought.
Right.
And
interesting.
Like you, I'm fascinated to find out.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to hear the different perspectives on it.
And I'm super excited to hear all the different perspectives from the panel at West Edge.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this. Yes. It's so fun. Thanks for having me.
You are listening to some of the highlights from the Fall 2024 open house that took place live at Design Hardware in Los Angeles. We'll be right back.
Design Hardware's newly remodeled showroom is where you will find a gallery-style space with a thoughtful display of products, purposefully positioned to allow unbridled exploration and discovery. High-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware selections are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find your inspiration. Collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your shopping list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Bianca Bush, co-founder of Kink. We're a design build company that capture our clients' aspirations and vision and create it into a space that creates a lasting legacy for them.
When did you know that you wanted to be in this business?
Funny story. I knew that I wanted to be in this business because I'm third generation contractor. So I grew up in this. My grandfather started a demolition underground utility company in Detroit, and my father took it over at a very young age. So I was right there.
Did you participate, like, as a kid? Were you on site?
Yes, I was on site. We were at the yard. We were everywhere. And I was so involved in the company at a young age that I'm like, what else is out there? And that's when I stumbled upon architecture, because a guy used to come into the building and he was an architect. And I would sit there, just talk to him. And I'm like, I'm going to school for that.
What was it about talking to an architect? What was it about those conversations that galvanized this within you that you really remember?
It was the plans, just looking at the plans and knowing how to read them, and not knowing. It was, I mean, it was just natural because I was around it. So we'd just have casual conversations when he come in. So I'm looking at these plans, and then it made sense. And I wanted to learn more about it. So it was just the plans and just conversations. Just we talked about everything because he was just in the office.
What did you, aside from the basics, the necessities that one has to learn to become an architect, right? What did the education process do for you that informed the way that you work today?
I wouldn't say the education. I would say the people. I love the people. It's architecture and construction brings so many people together to collaborate on a project, and that evolves just from collaboration. So for me, it's the people. Being able to talk to people, be around people. And that's what I took from the industry. It was always people around.
So your firm started in 2013.
Yes.
You're based in Inglewood.
Yes.
Talk to me about the renaissance that's taking place in Inglewood right now surrounding SoFi. You know, when you get an anchor structure like SoFi, which, by the way, architecturally speaking, is just spectacular.
It is. To be honest, I don't really, there's a lot of changes happening in Inglewood, but a lot of our business is not happening in Inglewood. So there's a different perspective. There's a lot of happening, but there's not a lot of homes being built in Inglewood. It's more commercial. So for our business that specializes in high-end residential, we're not really seeing that design happen in Inglewood yet, and we would like to.
Now, growing up in Detroit, which is pretty much about as different from Southern California as one could possibly be.
Yes.
How did growing up in a city like Detroit inform the way you design?
Growing up in a city like Detroit allowed me to, it's freedom. There's really no restrictions. I felt like I could pretty much do anything. Detroit gives you that vibe. Detroit creates people that are highly confident and don't really it's inspirational. Like growing up in a city like Detroit, you just don't think that you can't do anything. You believe you can do everything, and that's what Detroit did for me.
It's interesting too because a city like Detroit, Southern California, you have remarkable structures that are built. Structures go down every day. People don't even notice.
Right.
Like it's an architectural etch-a-sketch, right? When you don't like it, just shake it, start again. That's always been the spirit of Southern California. But Detroit, you don't have that much. So when it's lost, you definitely feel it. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there is a sense of loss from past architecture. Like Detroit has been one of those cities, a once great city, which is making an amazing comeback, but which was ignored for so long that I'm wondering if you have that sense of appreciation that maybe someone in Southern California who was born and raised here doesn't necessarily have.
I do believe that I have that sense of appreciation. In Detroit, like you said, the buildings last forever. Like I think about Motown. Motown is still standing. It will never get torn down. It's historic. And so is a lot of the buildings in Detroit, like Grand Central Station in Detroit, still standing. And they repurposed it. A lot of the buildings in Detroit are standing, just like the roads in Detroit. First paved road in America, still there on Woodward. And that's beautiful. The architecture in Detroit is amazing. And you can still go see it.
Do you think that because Detroit isn't LA or New York or Chicago or Boston or Miami, that it doesn't get the architectural props it deserves?
Possibly. I think Detroit kind of gets overtaken with the automotive industry. So a lot of people think of Motor City when they think of Detroit, but they forget that there's a Mies building still standing in Detroit on Jefferson. Beautiful place. And there's so many architectural gems out there, but it's just not what it's famous for. So people don't remember. But if you're from Detroit, you know.
What are you being asked to do in your work today that maybe surprises you or that you're pleased to be building?
Honestly, what surprises me in my work today is people appreciate my perspective and my husband's perspective, and they allow us to show up in the work and not only them. And I love that aspect of what we do. We're able to genuinely collaborate together to create something amazing.
Talk to me a little bit about that collaboration and partnerships, because right now I kind of feel like the partnerships that designers, architects, builders have to have today, especially, and this is not a political question, but politically speaking, when things are up in the air, like interest rates, if the Fed holds rates high because we're imposing tariffs on certain countries, so that's going to affect the economy of things, it almost feels like we have to start thinking further out than we did before. It's not just about specifying hardware or specifying materials. It's about kind of understanding if these materials are going to be available or if they're going to be priced higher, which will affect an already outrageous building cost. From the business of design and the business of architecture, how do you approach that, and how do you build those lasting relationships, not necessarily with the clients, but with your partners, your showroom partners, your materials partners, and others that you collaborate with?
I think that's when people show up. That's when you have to really understand that this business is about your relationships that you have with people. The material is going to go up and down, it may disappear, but the people will still be there. So when you talk to each individual person from these vendors, these manufacturers, as people, and communicate what's going on and telling them what you need and how we can be of service to each other, I think that's how we're able to get through that. Just remember that we're people, and we do business with people, not the material.
All right, so now last question for you. We're gonna do a little manifestation.
Okay.
And I love this. This has worked, by the way. Just so you know, this has worked. If you could imagine yourself working on a project, the likes of which that you haven't worked on before, what's on the list? What's a project that you would absolutely love to take on?
Okay. I would love to take on a project that reshapes how we move through our communities. So it's a community within a community. A project that kind of has everything in one place, and it's mixed use environment, but it captures every element of life that you need in this project. It sounds very esoteric.
It is. Yeah, let's drill down.
Okay.
Commercial or municipal?
All three, commercial, residential, and municipal, all in one place. So it's an ecosystem. And the project showcase how people move through life together and how you need each other. Like there's a school, there's groceries, there's living, and it's just communal. It's kind of like taking Los Angeles and putting it in a little community. And that's my ideal project. That's what I want to create, a community that just defines how people move.
I think that's brilliant, but you're going to have to actually create that project and then find someone who's got the vision to pay for it.
Yes, that's true. There's billionaires.
There are. Listen, I'm in Tulsa,
Okay.
Oklahoma, and there is the Gathering Place. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Gathering Place,
haven't.
but it is one of the most magnificent parks ever built. Personal opinion, and I've seen a few things. It was funded by the George Kaiser Family Foundation,
Okay.
and one of the people that has the money to do something like that, and it was an idea. And it was an idea to put a public park in a place where everyone had access to it.
Yes.
And it's exactly what you're talking about. You're spot on.
I'm gonna have to go there.
You're gonna have to go there, but definitely check it out. The
Yes.
Gathering Place. It's amazing.
It sounds amazing.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
This was so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ben Jones. I have a firm based in Los Angeles called BRCJ Designs, and we mostly do single-family residential and some commercial projects here in LA, in New York, and in Miami.
Why this?
Why this?
Yeah.
When I was 8, I decided I wanted to be an architect. So that was a path that took me 20 plus years to get to. And then once I started working in architecture, I realized that the relationships I gained from the kind of the residential market are so lovely and so interesting. So it led me into the single family residential category. And then projects that are more commercially based that I can still have that type of personal relationship with my clients.
What about architecture was it that made an 8-year-old Ben want to get into that as a profession?
I think the way that architecture affects the world around you in very subtle ways and subconscious ways is what drew me to the profession and what drew me to the practice of it. And I think it's I love so much about what I do is that it's a lifelong thing. You never finish your education of what it is that you're trying to achieve. You never finish becoming the best at it. You work forever on it if you really love it. And you just get better and better as time goes on, or you get more of a perspective as time goes on. And so that is something that I love about, how I could affect the world positively in some way, even if just to a few people, through that lens.
Silly question for you. The old adage, form follows function.
Yeah.
Is that true anymore?
In some cases, yes. I think for us, for my firm, and for me specifically, our methodology follows a individualistic approach. So whatever the project is, we take a slightly different approach every time. And I think sometimes people their desire is for the form to speak sometimes more than the function. So that doesn't actually really apply always. But generally, no matter what we do, even if we have to subtly sneak it in, we always make sure that things are super functional, because ultimately that allows you to enjoy the form better.
And I asked that question for a very specific reason.
Sure.
I preface it as a silly question, but it's kind of not. With the social mediaification of the world that we live in today, where it's impossible to see how something functions.
Yeah.
You will have someone saying, look at this, isn't this wonderful?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you don't really know the performative value of it. And I think that's important, especially for architecture and design. I have long said that I think that architects and designers are futurists, because you kind of have to be.
Yeah.
If someone could go back and see and really think about, hey, could a pandemic ever happen again in the U.S.? It's a great question.
Yeah.
Because we've almost had, bird flu, swine flu. We've almost had multiple pandemics.
Yeah.
We did have a pandemic in 1921, but nobody was here to remember it.
True.
So once something happens, the potential for it to happen all over again is greater than. And in social media and the way that we digest and ingest and consume media these days, we don't really get what we need. And because the built environment is so important.
Yeah.
I think it comes back to the designers and architects again, which is why I asked the form and function question, because I think it's one of those things that is really being reevaluated right now.
Yeah. I agree. I think the collapsing of architecture and design into like flat images, so everything we look at is on a screen, and that flattens the experience of what it is that we're creating. And yes, we love to create beautiful images of spaces that they can be captured on a TikTok or in an Instagram post, and that's a great marketing tool. But that is so far from how I like to look at my work, and that's kind of why maybe this is naive to say, but I'm not so afraid of the immediate effects of things like AI on architecture and design, especially in my industry, maybe for commercial office buildings where it's only about a certain outcome of performance and financial gain. What I do is so much about the emotions of how people react or feel when they're in a space, and that has to be done in a personal way. That has to be done in person, through the human body, through sensation, through touch, through sight, through smell. Even some materials smell different than others. Fresh wood floors are going to smell different than carpet, and those are very subtle things, but they make a huge difference. And so for us, it's so much about like the tactility and the sensation aspects of what we do that I think make it, different than, or like that bring us out of the realm of the Instagram, of the social media. When it comes to something like a pandemic, and the effect that had on design, I think people were all at home all the time. Like everyone was at home. Nobody was in the office. Nobody was going to restaurants, at least for the first year or so. And that forced people to recognize that and think about that. And that was why it was such a great, let me rephrase that. It was not a great thing. Obviously, it was a horrible thing. But for my industry and for what we do, it really allowed people to gain a much deeper understanding of the spaces that they were in and think about it more.
You know what's funny? A couple of things that you said I want to drill down on.
Yeah.
One, most recent, is that the pandemic was a terrible thing, not a great thing. I'm just gonna call the other side of that coin for a second.
Absolutely.
For me, the pandemic was incredible.
Yeah.
For my kids, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognize the difference. And I think that
Yeah.
that's sort of the subtle difference, is that it wasn't the same for everyone.
Yeah.
I didn't live in a fourth floor walk up
Right.
in Manhattan.
Right.
I had space.
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference, and I think that it's an important difference, and it's one, again, back to what you do.
Yeah.
That it gave. I think the lessons that you probably learned from that are exceptional. The other thing that you said was AI. Someone who is experiential as you are isn't going to be negatively impacted by that, but AI will take jobs.
Yeah.
The architect who is really a transactional draftsman
Yes.
is going to lose their job.
Yes, I think so. I agree. And that's something that I don't necessarily, there's no way to stop innovation. There's no way to stop progress. Even if it's not in our best interest, we will do it. That's human nature. And so the question of AI is a fascinating one when it comes to my field. And I agree. I think people who are hired as draftspeople in firms are the first to be afraid of this. For people, like in my firm, for example, we have several employees where everyone is kind of working on concept to drafting to modeling to thinking to client relationships. So there's a little bit of there's only so much that can be taken over by AI in a smaller, more thought kind of boutique residential practice. I worry for, people who are just doing commercial office buildings all the time, and that's, to avoid innovation in the industry is to put your head in the sand and pretend like, we're not drawing on drafts boards anymore. We're not hand drawing all of our projects, right? We are using, the current technology, and it's actually helping us create better things. I mean, we use VR a lot in our practice. We bring clients into VR headsets and show them the space. And a lot of the times they're like, oh God, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And how great is that to show them that now, before it gets built and they spend a ton of money on it, than it is to have them walk into the space when it's done and be like, this wasn't actually what I imagined in my head. This wasn't the same thing that I was imagining.
100%. And
Yeah.
I think that too is where AI is really going to help someone like
Yeah.
you, because imagine if you could feed the machine, if you
Yeah.
could feed the algorithm how somebody lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not how they say they live,
How they actually live.
but to put equipment on somebody for an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
For a couple weeks, to see how many steps they take in their home, to see how they work and how they operate and what their environment is, what time they actually go to sleep, what time they actually fall asleep,
Right.
what time they wake up, what time they were
Yes.
supposed to wake up. All these things.
Yeah.
Feed that into a machine, build an algorithm for a specific family, and then use that to guide the architectural process.
Yeah.
That's astounding.
It's just data collection, really, is what it is, and we've done that for the architecture profession has done that forever, right? We used to, for instance, in school, there was practices where you do exercises where you track all of your steps in a day, and you have to make drawings based on where you would go, just to give you, because you think, oh, I used the kitchen once. No, you used the kitchen 18 times today, right? Like, I just made breakfast. No, you were in there pottering around as you were on a phone call. And I think, like, yes, if we can use these advanced tools and these kind of learning tools to develop more thoughtful data responses, like, and we can use those to create environments for people that are amazing, why wouldn't we do that? And I think my big thing about AI is just about regulation of how, regulation in general. And I'm not an expert in that, but I do think everything in that world, there has to be some sort of like limits on where it gets to. I just don't know what those limits are. And I'm hoping somebody will find it out eventually.
No, unfortunately, I mean, look, the way that technology works today, they're going to move fast and break things. I think that was a Mark Zuckerberg thing, I believe.
Yeah.
But that's how it's going to work. They're going to move fast, they're going to break things, and then when they break them, then they're going to do a patch.
Yeah, right.
Software update, and that's really how it's going to work. But I do think that, talented architects who understand formally and functionally how to build and develop the relationship with the client, so that the client can be honest and say what they really. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Clients don't always tell you what they really want.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're translators, basically.
There was a designer that I saw online who all she specializes in are like sex rooms.
Oh, lovely.
No,
Fun.
But look, I mean,
Yeah.
If we're honest about this, the porn industry is one of the biggest industries globally. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me, well, it's that big, but nobody uses it.
Right.
It's just one of those things. And if someone has, why can't people be happy?
Yeah.
And why can't they feel comfortable telling their architect, hey, listen, this is what I really want, and then have their architect or designer build it into the house?
Right.
Why is that question taboo?
That's a great question, actually, because for me, part of my job and part of what I hope differentiates us is our client relationships. And part of, my job is to put people in a comfortable enough position where they can actually convey those desires to you, and they can really talk to you honestly about how they use the space and how they want to use the space. And that freedom of thought and that freedom of expression, or without feeling like you're going to be judged, that's something that is interesting. Like, if you're inputting those desires into a computer, they can certainly interpret them, but there takes a level of sensitivity, I think, of the human mind. I'm sure the AI mind will catch up at some point, but if you think about putting something into ChatGPT and like the translation of it, right? You say, translate this very nuanced French phrase into English. It will probably do it quite well, but it may not be of an expert French speaker who's done 30 years of French, who knows, oh, actually, that's not really what they mean. That is the literal translation, but what they really mean is this. And there's so much subtext to that. And that's where our role comes in, is being that expert translator from the client to the execution. So.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Cecile, Candace, Bianca, Adam, and Ben. These were just a few of the conversations we had, and you can find more in depth with these individuals and others, as well as additional storylines, by listening to Doctoring Up Design, the official podcast of design, hardware, and flooring, hosted by yours truly as well. Check out the show in the show notes, which will take you right there. Thank you to my partner sponsors, including Thermosol, TimberTech, Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, Design Hardware, and Monogram, for your continued support of the design community. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the show and share it with your family, friends, colleagues. Your time, it's the most valuable asset you have, and I appreciate the time we spend here together on the show. Please keep those show and guest suggestions coming. Convo by Design at Outlook.com, and on Instagram at Convo by Design with an X. Until next week, be well and take today first.